regardless of their records,
Right.
historically, this is kind of a tough trip. You know, El Paso, Las Cruces, as far west as you're going to go, a lot of travel time, and two teams that tend to play a lot better at home than maybe they do on the road.
Exactly. UTEP's a lot better with their home record than the road record. And New Mexico State, Molly's leading the league in scoring and shooting the ball really well, and they're both really different but really good defensive teams. And you know, UTEP's doing a great job of affecting the pace of the game, the way that they affect it, and New Mexico State's just going to guard the pants off of you. And so they're both, while different, they both accomplish the same goal, which is making sure points are hard to come by, and even harder at their place.
Going on the road now, how important is those 3 home wins and building the momentum and confidence you can go forward?
Yeah, and even the 2 road wins before we came back home, just to try to get in some rhythm and really trying to fix some of the things that we didn't do well when we were at home against Liberty and FIU. And so I feel like we've made some inroads. We've made some improvements in some areas. There's still some things that we've got to continue to work on, but I like that the effort and the attention that the girls have had. And so, you know, that's the challenge, is can you take what you've done at home and replicate that on the road, and in particular on a longer, more challenging maybe road trip, just from travel perspective, let alone the teams and the matchups.
You mentioned how good they are defensively, though, but it feels like, particularly in this stretch right now, like you said, you've made a lot of inroads in places. I think defense is probably one of those areas. Teams are having trouble against you guys, too. So, in a way, it's kind of a budding of styles there, the way.
It'll be just like we've talked before. It'll be a battle of wills, who's able to impose their will on the style of game and how the game's going to be played, and then who's able to continue to do the simple things really well, who's able to be fundamental, who's able to take care of the ball, who's able to get quality, those type of things, who's able to box out and rebound on the defensive board. So those are some of the simple things that happen every game, but it will be. It's always a battle of wills, and you know, we've got the challenge of going to their place. Cole, you know, that's an area of importance every game. It doesn't matter what team it is. We could scrimmage you guys, and that's still going to be an area of importance, and we're going to probably watch film on it the next day. And so we watched film yesterday on that very thing. And so absolutely, you know, and I think obviously the focal point is how well Molly's shooting the ball. She's just such an efficient scorer, and she can score in such a variety of ways. And they've got other players that are really good as well. And matter of fact, Lillian just told me that they've returned as much experience as anybody in the conference. And so I think that speaks to why they're playing well. You know, they've got a lot of experience and a lot of continuity. And continuity is something that's hard to come by right now. And so they've got that going, and they've got good players. And then they play really tough, gritty defense. And so we'll have to have our A game. We'll have to be playing our best. But before we get to that, we've got to play a really difficult. They switch defenses a lot at UTEP. They're a lot better at home than they are on the road, and so it's a tough place to play. And so we've got to, you know, our focus is on UTEP.
And offensively, though, you guys make it tough on defenses, particularly right now, it feels like, with this stretch. I mean, you look at the balance, not just in scoring, but in assists. And one night it's one person, one night it's another. I mean, you've got good depth and balance right now going. That's got to be good to make it a matchup difficulty for the other side.
Well, we hope so. And we can. The other film edit that we watched yesterday was on our ball movement, and because I want them to recognize how well they've done in sharing the ball. And for the most part, the ball doesn't stick for us a whole lot, occasionally, but not often. And I think that's why that we have that kind of balance. And as long as you don't care who gets the credit, then there's no limit to what you can accomplish together. And so that's what we're continuing to trying to move the ball freely, trying to find the best shot. Sometimes I feel like we pass up a good shot, and then we get sometimes a more challenging shot. But as long as we continue to do that and play unselfishly that way on the offense, then we should be hard to guard. And we just got to keep knocking some of those shots down.
Coach, this is
Mhm.
USA season before you kind of get back in the routine of playing teams again. But this time, having a lot of those games at home, only had 2 away games so far. You're about to start really getting on the road for this final stretch. What do you really just kind of have to instill in these girls? I mean, just to be able to go out there, keep doing what they're doing, despite the fact that you all will be on the road for most of the
That's the answer right there, is just keep doing what you're doing. You have to try to stick to as much routine as you can, even though you're on the road and you're traveling. You have to try to make sure you get that rest and the rehab that you get on the road. And then you just got to make sure that you're still doing what you do. You've got to focus on what we do and not on the crowd and not on the officials and not on whatever it is that's going on the road. And so you don't have the comforts of Diddle Arena. You don't have the comforts of 4,000 screaming kids in the stands. And so you've got to rely on yourself. And that's that routine that you've got to make sure you focus on every day. And whether it's the routine of warming up or the routine of how you play, we just got to stick to those simple things that we keep doing.
Starting to see your depth pay off a little bit too. I mean, Salma's had
Mhm.
put together some nice games. Maya,
Mhm.
Callie, Mackenzie comes off the
Mhm.
bench as a starter and steps right in. That's got to be good to see because that's kind of was one of the things you were wanting to do in the off season was build that depth, and you've kind of seen the fruits of the labor. Right now.
And it's taken a little time for everybody to kind of grow, kind of settle into what we do and their role. And each one of those players that you mentioned they've had moments where they've been impactful for us. Some more than once, but they've all came in and played good roles for us, and we need to continue to do that. And so, especially if we're playing on the road, you just never know who's going to end up in foul trouble or who's going to, knock on wood, somebody gets sick or doesn't feel well and they're not able to go full speed. And so we need that depth. And we have good competition in practice every day. And as long as we have that kind of competition, then we all come together on game day. That's what you want.
You said day-to-day Saturday. I will take it in case it's going to be on the field. Yeah.
That's the plan.
And kind of just going off that too, I mean, really talking about that depth. I mean, 2 games ago, I mean, Casey was in the starting lineup. She ended up finishing with 0 points, and you saw really how the other girls really stepped up there.
Mhm.
And then obviously playing without her on Saturday. So just really getting into that depth and seeing some of these girls step up. I mean, and I know
Mhm.
Casey is one of the big leaders on the team, and she wants to be out there, but especially just to see her teammates as well being able to step up.
And I think Casey is proud of that as well. She's excited when Mackenzie can come in and do what she did. She's excited when Salma can come in, and so she wants to be part of a great team. And every team has a leading scorer. Even the teams that haven't won any ball games, they got a leading scorer. And so it doesn't do any good to be the leading scorer on a bad team. It's much more satisfying to be part of a great team. And so Anna Casey is a big part of that. And she didn't have any points that game, but she impacts the game in other ways, even when she's not scoring. She still, I guarantee you, she's on the other team's scouting report, and they're not putting on there can't make a shot. And so she changes the floor for us, and sometimes opens up things for other players. And so we just got to get her back to where she's feeling like the Casey Hayes that can go out there and do the things that she knows she can do, and she knows that she's got teammates that can help her on those days when it's just not working right.
For this team, especially on Saturday, it felt like they were really into the game, enjoying themselves, having fun, a lot of smiles were seen on the court. What about this brand of basketball that you guys play makes it fun to go out there each and every game, whether it's win or lose?
Well, we talk about when you go in, your role is to play defense, rebound, and take care of the ball. And so that hopefully that takes some of the pressure off, that your goal or your purpose is not to go in and make 4 shots. Because if you go in, you have a bad day, you feel like you failed. And so, but everybody can go in and play defense and rebound and take care of the ball. And so if we do those things, and then we're really working on trying to play better and better defense together. Any one person can play great defense, but if you play great defense together, then you've got something special. And we're working on that all the time. We were working on that even on Saturday. We were winning the game, but there were still players getting fussed at because of what they weren't doing on defense. And it wasn't that they weren't giving effort. It wasn't that they weren't trying, because they were. And they have good intentions, but you got to make sure you're doing it together. And so we're getting better at that. We're working on it. This will be a challenge at both El Paso and at New Mexico State to continue to do that on the road. But that's why we try to make it fun. Try to make it fun. we don't do a lot of complicated things. What we do, matter of fact, the girls, you can ask them. If it ain't simple and they'll finish it, we ain't doing it. And that's just it. We try to keep things pretty simple, and we try to be really, really good at the few things that we do. And it makes it a lot more fun when you shoot 60%.
I think this is a game that Mary Allen's looking forward to a little more, or are we in this age now with the portal where those things kind of don't matter as much?
Yeah, now, I mean, you've got some players, their diploma is going to look like a passport. And so, but I know that she wants to do well, regardless of whether it's UTEP or New Mexico State, or even when we were on Saturday, like I went down to the bench she said she just wasn't warmed up, didn't feel like she was ready to go, and didn't want to go in and not do well. But she wasn't. She said, "Coach, I'm good." Like, she was excited for the team. And so when you have that type of attitude, that type of energy, positive energy, then you're in a good place. And so as long as she continues she's doing a great job in practice. I know she'll be ready to go. I am trying to get her in a little bit better shape so she can play a little bit longer. But yeah, I know she'll be excited to get back and do well in front of her former team. But ultimately, I know she just wants to just do well.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Don't drink the Coke.